Hey guys, this is Dr. Justin Marcagiani here. Today's video is going to be a coronavirus update for today. We're going to break down the statistics, see where we're at in the bell curve, just some friendly reminders on things that we can do. And I want to dispel a lot of the hysteria. Should you be worried? Should you be concerned? Yes. Should we be at a level of hysteria? No. All right, hysteria creates cortisol surges. That's going to decrease your immune system. You need your wits about you. You need a strong immune system as well. It's very important. Knowledge is power, so I think you guys can handle it. Let's dive in. So off the bat here, what does the incident rate here, the death rate and the mortality rate, what does that look like here? So off the bat, if you can see, China, we have 80,000 total confirmed cases in China. We have 13 new deaths today. So this is actually flattening out. We're coming to the bottom of the bell curve, 3,200 total deaths. You look down here, Italy, you can see a lot more new cases, 2,500 total deaths. Again, in perspective, comparing it to flu or something like that, that's the best comparison. It's actually still minor. We got to compare. We have to have something to compare it to so we have context. That's really important. If not, why aren't we freaking out and closing down the world's economy over the flu? Why not? I get it's a novel virus, but the flu is essentially every year. That's why we get vaccinated, or people get vaccinated every year for the flu, because the virus changes and mutates. And then you can see here, United States, 100 new deaths today, or 100 total deaths, 16 new deaths today, and about 6,000 cases. So that kind of gives you a little bit of perspective. Let's dive in a little bit deeper here. Okay, so this is important. This is really helpful. I'll make it big again so you guys can see it. So this is the generalized bell curve. This bell curve takes about 2 months from start to finish. And this represents how that virus is going to flow over the next 2 months. So you can see it crescendo is about 4 to 5 weeks in. That's where the highest amount of death occurs, right in this area here. Okay. Now this is why we're trying to do all these different things like social isolation. We're trying to do quarantine. We're trying to do all the things like washing your hands, because this brings this arch here, this pinnacle down, and that drop actually decreases how much the hospitals and our health professionals are going to be needed. So this is why we're freaking out, to bring this down, all right? To bring down the need on the hospital and the ventilators and all those things down. Very important. But again, we're looking at 2 months from here to here. 2 months. So you can see here's Italy here. Italy's about 5 weeks or so behind. Here's Italy here in this color, in this kind of light periwinkle, if you will. And so they'll be hitting, probably in the next week or so, their apex here on the bell curve. So you can see Italy's up a lot higher. We'll talk about why they are up. I have a couple of theories on why that is. And then you can see here's China here again. They're at their apex here in mid to early February. And then here they are flattening out, which is good. And again, they're flattening out with 3,200 deaths total. That's really, really good compared to projections being in the tens and hundreds of thousands. Some people even going as far as millions, which I think is just, there's no data to support that. And then here's South Korea. South Korea is already at the bottom of their bell curve. This actually went through pretty fast. I mean, look, February 17th, and look, now they're already here mid-March. So they actually had an even more compressed bell curve. Really interesting there. And then here's Italy. Italy's already at the top right here, maybe another week or so, and there they'll be. So here's Italy's bell curve right there as well. Okay, I'll bring it back to this one. This is a nice one to end on here. So why is Italy having problems in general? That's the good question. 3 major factors, I think, why Italy's having some problems. Factor number 1 is the Italians have the oldest median age for elderly in Europe. It's like in the early 80s. So there's a lot of people above 80 in Italy out of any other place in Europe, number 1. Number 2, Italians have traditions of living with their family members, their kids, their grandkids. So there's a lot more people that could be vectors for the virus. And number 3, Europe, especially Italy, waited too long to close the country's doors from flights to China. I think that really increased the exposure. Europe has, and one other vector is Italy has the largest amount of Chinese legal citizens in Italy. So because of that, going back and forth to and from China, that increases the vector from China to Italy. I think that's part of the reason why Italy was hit so hard compared to United States. I mean, one thing our government did that was really good, they really closed down the borders from China before it was even popular. I think that happened like January 28th, and most people were actually putting that decision down. It ended up being a huge decision. I think that's going to be one of the biggest things that has been done to compress that bell curve. So really important. This bell curve seems to generally be lasting 2 months. So if we look at the data, right, and we look at 3,200 people so far with China, mortality rate, spanning the 2-month bell curve, right? China is 4x what the U.S. is in population. United States, 327 million. China is about 1.2 billion. You do the math, 3,200, right? You multiply it by 0.25, you're at 800 people dead from the coronavirus here. I mean, it'll probably go a little bit more than that. Maybe in the low 1,000s you're going to see. Now, that's pretty good compared to the tens and hundreds and even millions that some people were talking about. So you can see a little comparison. The average flu week in regards to incidence, in regards to death, mortality, you're looking at about 500 to 1,000 people dead on the low side per week of flu. And we're looking at, over the course of a full bell curve cycle, 8 weeks, 2 months, about 1,000. So you're looking at about 1/8 in regards to the mortality rate of coronavirus to flu. So in other words, coronavirus 8 times less than flu based on the bell curve data. Now, could China be manipulating their data? It's very possible. If that's the case, then we'll update this video as that happens. But using the data that we have right now, seeing the bell curve, seeing South Korea, seeing other countries that are kind of at the apex, it seems like the bell curve is about 2 months. And that gives us a pretty good window to predict kind of where we're going to be over the next 2 months. So in general, keep compressing that middle part of the bell curve down by doing all the things that we've talked about, right? Common sense stuff, washing hands, social isolation, quarantine. Do all the more natural things that I'm telling you that people aren't talking about in the mainstream. That's vitamin C. Do it to bowel tolerance. What does that mean? Up your vitamin C till your stools get loose. Maybe that's 8-10 grams, and back off a gram or two till it solidifies. That's going to be your vitamin C tipping point. Get your vitamin D levels up, 10,000, 20,000 IUs for the next 2 to 4 weeks. Really get it upregulated. And also do astragalus. We can do reishi. We can do various medicinal mushrooms. We can do N-acetylcysteine. We can do zinc. All are excellent, excellent options. I've done videos on this topic that are more in depth. Take a look at last week's podcast on this topic. Again, this is Dr. J here. I want you guys to not be hysterical. I want you to use that frontal cortex. I want you to be smart. You can handle it. It's not as bad as the media is telling you. Should you be concerned? Yes, but only be concerned to the point where you can make good decisions so you can keep you and your family safe. Again, this is Dr. J here. And then recap, the people that have to worry are the ones that are 70 and up and have comorbidities. So yeah, and part of the reason why we're doing all these things is actually to help them so we don't actually spread it. Most of these things is to help them, not necessarily for us in a lot of areas. All right, hope this helps, guys. Put your comments down below. Let me know your experience. Have you gotten sick with corona or the flu? Let me know your experience, what you've done, what's helped, and what you think of today's chat. Again, this is Dr. J signing off. Have a good one. Take care. Bye.